Hey guys, welcome back to Between Nerds Podcast. My name is Drew Philip Elias, and at the forefront of this episode, I just want to give a ginormous, huge, worldly, spiral-powered congratulations to Aldo and VNA for the birth of their first son, Zaid Mendez. He's a happy, healthy baby born what, March 31st?
March 31st at 6 p.m., guys. Thank you very much, Drew.
I heard VNA was a champ. I've never heard of a pregnancy going so well. I've never heard of a birth going so well. Like, VNA, she's a trooper.
Yeah, a good baby making factory. Yeah. So it was nice. It was easy. I mean, as a new parent, I have a lot of stuff to learn in such little time. But it's awesome, dude. It's it's great. He's been really good. No fuzziness, just besides eating and stuff like that.
Just baby. You know what I mean?
Baby stuff.
You just gotta just feed him every 2 hours and.
To my observation, he is dealing with the outside world pretty good. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's just like, oh shit, I need to eat.
You were telling me that he's one of those babies who's he opened his eyes right away. And I think that's what you're trying to allude to. Like he's really curious already, even though he's like what, 2 weeks old. Like I don't know
a week old.
Yeah, he's a week old. He's a week and a half old. But that's why we were off last week. You know what I mean? And we warned everybody all month. We were like, don't be shocked if the upload's a little late because it's a very good reason. There was no way we were gonna record 4 days after Zaid was born, because like the grandparents were still all coming through, and your brother got married last week.
Got shotgun wedding. He eloped. I'm just playing. No, he didn't. But yeah, it was my mom, she unlocked all the achievements in a week.
Yeah, just mother of the year the past month. Just like the Mendez brothers decided to grow up the past week.
Yeah, and I mean it's been good, man. A lot of happy shit with my mom,
Well, I just saw her downstairs too. She's hanging out with Zaid and VNA, and it seems like I'm really happy for you guys. Zaid has great parents, and it's funny that. Hopefully or not hopefully, he will or will not hear this in 10, 15 years. Uh-huh. And this is his future. This is what you're leaving him. This is it. Just the podcast.
A podcast full of our conversations. Mm-hmm. But yeah, dude, thank you. Nerds, thank you guys for hanging in there with us. I'm fucking excited about being back in the fucking podcast room.
I'm excited. We have these next two, both this episode and next episode are going to be fucking hitters, bro. Like, me and you are stupid excited to talk about Gurren Lagann right now. Mm-hmm. Next week is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Like, holy fuck. Like, we are watching, like, these big named, like, early 2000s anime hitters. But last month was super exciting. The day I got my second dosage of the Moderna vaccine, I logged into our RSS analytics. I saw that we had our most successful month ever. You know what I mean? So as long as the podcast is trending upwards, I'm happy. Yeah. I'm happy. We are up 25% in subscribers in the past 30 days. And even though like April probably won't be as good because we already missed a week, that's all right. That's all right, because we have the...
It's foreseeable.
We have the user base. We have... I was going to say fans, but that's a bad word. Mm-hmm. Like we have followers of the podcast.
Yes.
And yeah.
Yeah, but, I mean, between all these good news and, new beginnings and stuff like that, I do want to shit on the nerds.
Yeah, a little bit.
I do want to shit on the nerds. You guys did not use the hashtag last month, which was anti-trafficking nerds. We are gonna give a donation to the organization, the El Paso del Norte Center of Hope.
Right.
But that means no giveaway this month.
Yeah, we're still gonna be donating about $20 or so to the Paso del Norte Center of Hope because we don't think it's fair to them that y'all suck.
Yeah, exactly. You guys suck.
Yeah. But you get another shot. And the thing about this is, like, technically the giveaway and the hashtag usage is gonna be cut down a week. Because we're starting, what's today, the 9th, the 10th?
Yes, sir.
We're starting, like, the giveaway.
Well, by the time they hear this, it's going to be tomorrow, so that's going to be the 11th.
Right. So they've already have less time to enter the April giveaway. And what we got a suggestion on Twitter. Probably our most involved Twitter follower, Vivian. HyperAcusis GF on Twitter, okay? And Vivian brought up a really good point. This was maybe 2 weeks ago. I was working on the pool and I texted you about it.
Mm-hmm. And this was shortly after the incidents at the massage parlors.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I was literally listening to a podcast talking about the mass shooting at the massage parlors in Atlanta. And shortly after, like later in that week, there was a hate crime of like an elderly Asian woman in either New York or DC that got beat up in front of a hotel. Mm-hmm. And so Vivian's idea was, why not give to like an Asian organization? Okay. So that got my wheels a turning, and I was like, that's a great idea. You jumped on it right away too. You were like, yeah, jump on that, research that. Okay, so I get on the internet web.
The web of internets.
Yes, I get on the Googles and I start Googling like El Paso Asian chapters and leadership organizations, and then I got educated a little bit. And technically
it's always nice to be educated.
It is nice. You don't want to be ignorant. You always want to learn something new every day. I feel like I learned that when I was like 6 years old, and I've tried my best every day since. But the term Asian is not entirely politically correct. It's not offensive, but it's not accurate. So technically we're describing Pan-Pacific Americans, Asian Americans, Pan-Pacific Americans. So for the month of April, we are going to be donating to the Pan-Pacific American Leaders and Mentors. And this is raising a whole new generation of leaders in the Pan-Pacific communities. Mm-hmm. And they, you know what I mean? They're going to be dealing with these hate crimes the rest of their lives. Like, I've received hate as a Hispanic American. Mm-hmm. And I'm mixed. You know what I mean? Technically, I could be a part of the Pan-Pacific Americans and Mentors organization. Yes. And when I lived in Lubbock, Texas, I had a few instances with like cops of not only like the university, Texas Tech system, but surrounding municipalities like around the Lubbock area. I was pulled over several times just because I look a certain way. Mm-hmm. And
it sucks, dude. It sucks. And the fact that, I mean, you see it everywhere, man. And I mentioned this topic to you, that it's so crazy how movies were back then, just like white centric. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
It's like I don't want to bring it up because it almost gives credence to the argument, but like the Dr. Seuss like book ban, correct, that we talked about 2 weeks ago. Actually, we talked about it fairly recently, and how certain sections of conservative culture were upset that the publisher that owns Dr. Seuss's works had stopped printings and publishings of certain books, but that's because they have really old, ugly Asian stereotypes, and so. What's the hashtag?
Oh, shit, the hashtag.
Well, even though we did learn that Asians should technically be called Pan-Pacific, I think if it's the meme of our podcast, if we just use hashtag Asian Nerds. Okay. For the month of April. Okay. And it's almost such a meme that hopefully we'll get some traction and we'll get some usage out of it.
Hopefully we do get some usage. And we have if you stick around for the Nerd Down, we'll give some news on the giveaway, since you guys suck and you guys didn't use the hashtag last weekend. And also because you guys have 3 weeks kinda to use the hashtag. So we're going to bring it down on the Nerd Down. But now we're going to talk about Gurren Lagann.
Gurren Lagann is technically not a Studio Trigger anime, but it is what caused the creators of Studio Trigger, Hiroyuki Amaishi and Masahiki Otsuka.
2007, right?
2007. They both co-wrote and directed Gurren Lagann.
Anime original.
Mm-hmm. And it was originally part of Studio Gainax, which was it's a historical anime studio. They produce a bunch of big names, but once they made this formula, because at its core, Gurren Lagann is still an NGE ripoff, a little bit.
You know what? I did hear about that, and I did not see it.
You did? Well, I think it's because Studio Gainax made NGE. Mm-hmm. So, like, a lot of those executives were still part of the thought process. It's still big robots. Mm-hmm. It's still teenagers not wanting to pilot Big Robot because they want to cry about it instead. Yes. But the art direction, a complete 180.
Absolutely. And that's what I wanted to talk about. Like, like in a weird world where imagine Darlie and the Franxx and Gurren Lagann are happening in the same anime. It's two different stories surrounding different things. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Darlie and the Franxx decided to focus on this couple, which is Hero and Hero, right? Mm-hmm. And it was good. It was great. And then at the end, they just didn't know what the fuck to do with whatever happened.
They tried scaling in the same way that Gurren Lagann does, but it didn't work.
Gurren Lagann scaled, and it kept scaling.
It's so weird how it scales. Like, you go from a dude in a small cave tunnel to a multi-dimensional alternate universe creating superpowered entity.
And besides the pseudoscience and all the cool shit with the drills and the spiral energy, it makes sense.
It makes sense because it doesn't make sense.
Yes.
So when I was trying to describe it, it was like, if they tried doing this narrative, which in and of itself doesn't make sense when you try breaking it down, but if you were to put it in a different writer's room, if this was Dragon Ball Z or Naruto, they try to over-explain the stuff that almost doesn't need explaining. It's so batshit alternate science crazy. Just don't explain it. Just let it happen.
Yeah.
Because the biggest critique that I can accept for Gurren Lagann is a lack in writing. The writing's not good. But that's almost its asset. It is an anime driven by its art style.
I did have to watch it in sub. Because the dub was a little painful.
Yeah, the dub's really bad. The choice of words are bad, and like, because it already doesn't make sense, them switching up the language that's used to try to fit the lips makes it more confusing.
Yeah, so we start off a story. I can't exactly remember what we get introduced with.
Hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Quick, overarching terms. What is Gurren Lagann?
It's a mecha, dude, but it's
a mecha anime, okay.
Yeah, it's what I don't know, man. It's a mecha, but it's so good. It's so well structured that I can't tell you that it's like what is it? Gundam, or it's like Darling in the Franxx. It is like that because it has mechas, but it's the story itself. I mean, we have redemption, we have death, we have risk, we have love interest. We have
it's at its core, I would call it an epic in the term that literature, like scholastic society, treats the words epic. It's like so literal definition of epic in literature narrative: a narrative poem that tells a story of societies and heroes, which is what this is. It's a story about the hero's journey. And what's the hero's journey? It's about
believing in yourself.
No, it's about the
very shallow. It's about Simon believing in himself.
Yes and no. It's the hero's journey is a writing structure. Yeah. So first, it's a call to adventure, a supernatural aid, a threshold guardian, a mentor is introduced. There's an abyss, death and rebirth, transformation, atonement, and then return. That leads us back to the beginning of the story, and then it's cyclical. So then there'd be another call to adventure. So in this narrative, it's about Simon. He gets the call to adventure, and he escapes out of the cave. He gets supernatural aid in the use of spiral energy and Lagann and magical mechas. He gets a threshold guardian, who's his big bro. Yes. And it just scales upwards from there. But the end of Gurren Lagann, after the giant, super amazing fight in the last episode, he's a normal guy. And he's coaching the next generation to start their own call to adventure. Yeah. So it's a hero's journey.
Yes. I agree with you. What I was going is like, in the beginning of Gurren Lagann, it's just about this kid. And I started watching it in dub, and the dub's a little painful because it's so anime speechy. Yeah. It's so like, hey, bro.
Very bad early 2000s dubbing.
Yeah, but I watched it. I decided to watch in dub, and it was a little nice just reading it instead of hearing it. But we started out with Simone, which is, I like the tropiness of like the mechas because it's always a like unlivable world, so people are getting pushed in the subterranean of the Earth's core, right? And just people are just digging, in their village.
Yeah,
which is Lagann, right?
All of society is just underground, and all they know about the outside world is that you're gonna die if you go above ground. And they have limited resources because they're underground. They can't grow food properly, and all they can do is just dig. Just dig and try to find resources underground. And that's where we get Simone, who's he in the first half of Gurren Lagann, the most annoying character. He's what's his face from NGE. He's just a whiny little bitch, and he doesn't want to do anything. And it's not until his metaphorical older brother Kamina is just like, he's the asshole of the town. He's the douchebag, but he's a douchebag, but he's a nice guy in like a weird way. Like he's
almost like Yamcha in Dragon Ball.
Yeah. Like he's a good person at heart, but he's really loud. He's got too much energy. He's always talking a bunch of bullshit, and nobody believes him.
And it's almost like, now I know this. Now that I watched it, I mean, at the beginning, the animation, oh fuck, it's so trash at the beginning. I did not like the animation.
There's like glimpses of good animation. So, episode 1, the stylization is what's going to hit you right away if you're comparing it to things from the early 2000s.
It's very FLCL-ish.
Yeah, very FLCL-ish. A bunch of sharp corners, really dull colors, but then like pieces of brightness. Like it's just Kamina's blue hair. It's Yoko's red hair. But a lot of the landscapes are deserts and just rocks and shit. But it's like it's like the metaphor for us seeing it through what's his face's eyes, because it's like the world starts to open up to him because he has this very narrow, dark view from being a weird, nerdy hole digger. But the more he learns about the world around him and the more friends he starts to gain, the more like his view of the world opens up. And that's where the narrative goes as well, because it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And like, you're like, it can't get any bigger than this. It can't scale up anymore. And it does, like 2 episodes later. And you're just like, whoa.
The last 3 episodes, I'm like, what the fuck?
The last 3 episodes are just like,
just all the money they had left, just tossed it at the 3 last episodes.
And they don't explain anything, and that's what I love so much. Like, just big explosions and energy blasts, and bigger mechas, and bigger mechas, and bigger mechas, and bigger mechas, and they just never explain it. They're like, the power of my friends and my will to live is just gonna evolve me further and further until the end of time. And it's so...
I'm not gonna lie, I hated the first half of it.
Did you hate the first half?
I hated it because...
the pacing's weird.
Because the pacing's weird, and because I didn't know I didn't know if I was gonna get that payoff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I was like, ugh.
I understand completely.
And at the beginning, man, like, I was telling Vianney, I'm like, I don't fucking like this mechas.
Yeah.
It looks very like Happy Meal, early 2000s fucking toys.
Super corny.
Yeah.
Super corny mechas, and it's like what a little kid thinks is cool.
Yeah, and I can see that being a Happy Meal, dude. Just like getting in, it's a head and like some fist, and I'm like, okay.
It's almost like a dude in a rubber suit. Like, it's like
fucking almost.
It's like SSS Gridman, which makes sense because that's also a studio trigger fucking anime, because it's like it's like early Power Rangers. It's so corny and tacky, and it's just like, the power of my brother behind me is gonna let me punch you in the face harder than you can punch me.
Yeah, and okay, so yeah, he Simon, which I was fucking annoyed by the fucking use of the name.
Because Japanese Simone means something from Spanish Simone.
So, Simon,
his name is Simone. Say it in Spanish.
Simone. He finds this little key-looking drill thing. And I was like, as a first-time watcher, I'm like, okay, whatever. But then everything started becoming a drill. I was like, holy shit. Okay, we're riding with this. We're riding with the spiral energy. And I guess I'm seeing it as how you see the flame power or the fire power in Fire Force. Because I'm like, what?
Like, it doesn't make sense. And nothing behaves like the way it's described.
Yeah.
It's just like, big energy, go boom, and give me big drill. Fuck you. Like,
yeah. And then, like, if the fucking mecha gets destroyed, it just fucking materializes some fucking new fucking armor plates and shit.
And why? Because they have willpower.
Yeah.
And that's what translates into spiral energy, and that lets them destroy Beastman monsters who are harboring these giant other mechas, which they start to steal until they defeat the Emperor and punch him in the face. That is the first 9 episodes of Gurren Lagann. And it's the stupidest fucking narrative.
I hated it.
Stupid as fuck.
And but okay, so yeah, we Simone finds this key. The key is to
it's a little drill.
Yeah,
it's a tiny little drill
bit.
Yeah. And it's a little necklace, and it glows, and
and then he finds his first Lagann. I mean, his first Gurren, right?
Right. Which is just a robot. Like, he sees a face.
Yeah.
And he sees a face while digging, and then he goes to Kamina, and he's like, bro, there's a giant face in the cave. I don't know what to do. And Kamina's just like, oh, let's go check out the face. And then they just stick a hole into it. And then a hot chick with red hair and a giant gun busts through the roof. Which, phallic imagery, which I like... Oh, fuck. Why I was so excited to talk about Gurren Lagann this week is this is the first time in maybe like 2 months I've been able to talk about something in literary terms, which I missed. Because if you listen to like our original episodes, maybe like the first like 10, 15 or so, I depended too heavily talking about anime in terms of literary terms to the point that hurt me explaining the narrative itself. But Gurren Lagann just makes it so easy, and it's such like great palpable energy and like imagery and metaphors and stuff, because Yoko, the chick with the red hair on all the promotional artwork for Gurren Lagann and the giant tits, it's just wearing like a bikini top the whole series, she just busts through the roof with a giant 20-foot gun. And that's like the metaphorical like equivalent to like a feminist character, because she has dominated the phallic imagery of this giant fucking sniper gun, and she is using it while also being sexualized, but she doesn't let anybody sexualize her without her consent because she's gonna shoot them in the fucking face. It's so good. It's so good. This is one character.
Yeah, and I was so glad that she doesn't have... I mean, the first time, you look at the poster art and stuff like that, you're like, oh, tsundere, red hair, whatever. She kind of is, but she doesn't. She has a very specific character development.
Yes.
It's not just tsundere, it's not just zero, it's not just, fucking rent-a-girlfriend bitches. Like, it's not...
like, she is a tsundere, but that's because she's capable.
Yes, but she's not just that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she gets multiple relationship arcs.
Yeah.
And there's she has development outside of the male characters, which is progressive writing in and of itself, because like a lot of these female subplot characters never get development that's outside of the men that are the main part of the narrative. Yoko gets multiple pieces of narrative that are like, no, she's her own person.
That's what I mean. That's exactly what I mean. She has development outside of the protagonist of the show.
Because so not only is it the hero's journey, but you're like, when this was coming out, like in 2007, I'm like, what? 13, 14 years old at the time, right? And, I'm that nerdy, insecure guy. I'm, what's his name? You hate his name. The main guy. The kid. I'm Simon. I'm Simon in this narrative. But you want to be Kamina. You want Kamina to be because he's the cool guy. He's shirtless. He's got spiky hair and cool sunglasses. And he's able to talk to any girl and punch any monster in the face. And like Simon's his little bitchy apprentice. But Kamina's dialogue is always like, no, I am not shit without my supporting cast, who is Simon. Like, all this cool shit you see me doing, that is only because I've got my brother with me.
I can count on this dude.
Yeah. And like, he dies in episode 8. Like, it's like that.
He dies in episode 8, bro.
It's like that Game of Thrones writing, where like nobody's safe.
Dude, I'm watching for the first time. I'm watching the first 7 episodes. I'm like, oh, okay, all right. I'm looking at the design for the mechas. I'm not that impressed. I'm looking at the power system. I'm not really that impressed, but I'm like, okay, it's cool because they become bigger and everything's cool. It's more boom.
How am I going to fight this bigger robot? I'm going to make a bigger drill come out of my arm.
And then I did when that happened, when Kamina dies, I was like, oh shit, okay. And then we see, like from like the Pinnacle to the Pit fucking arc with Simone, because he just fucking shuts down the fuck up for like 3 episodes.
It's almost annoying because so they get Gurren, who's like this tiny little faced robot, right? And that's how they originally. That's how they originally get out of their underground city. So it's Simone, Kamina, and Yoko, and they just get in Gurren and they bust the fuck out. And that's like the big payoff in episode 1, is that they're falling from the sky, and Simone's able to see how much bigger the world is around him, and he's able to be like, oh fuck. And that's when we start getting color on screen, as opposed to all these blacks and grays and browns. And so the main antagonists in the first half are beast monsters, right? And they're just these asshole guys in these mechas, in these Gurrens, and they want to just kill humanity, but they only do it in the mornings.
Well, they're a fleet of the Spiral King genome.
Yes.
Who is forcing the people into the ground.
Right. Which there's a payoff at the end. Like, Correct. There's a reason for this.
Correct. And like the first 8 episodes before Kamina dies, I'm like, fuck. It's like, okay, we got this guy, and we're gonna get him at the end. It's like, how long is this gonna stretch? But no.
It's short. It's a lot shorter than you think it's gonna be. Because, so Kamina beats a beast star in combat and steals his robot, and that's Lagann. So that's where we get the title. Gurren, which is Simon's mecha, and then we get Lagann, the bigger, ugly red robot, and that's Kamina's.
I thought it was the name of the town that they came from.
I think that's why he named the mecha that, but that's why, like, their main mecha is called Gurren Lagann.
Oh, okay.
And so what we learn about Gurren, Simon's mecha, is that it has this drill that comes out of the bottom and it can take over other mechas. Mm-hmm. And that's like Simon's trump card. Like the whole anime, that's his main goal in every fight. Is like, I'm just going to take their opposing mecha while they're off guard, and I can take it over.
Dude, it's fucking great. It's fucking great that we're getting past the first half right now. Not even yet. No, I know, but like, I can't wait to just talk about the second half, because the second half it's fucking awesome.
It's because like the payoff in like the last 4 or 5 episodes like are because you lived through those other episodes. Like the first few episodes dragging lets the payoff be that much more,
and it makes me want to watch it just so I can enjoy the first episodes.
Yeah, because you already know there's a payoff. Like you don't have that skepticism in the back of your head being like I hope this gets good.
Yeah, exactly.
But so there's like these generals of the Spiral King who you were talking about, and we don't know what Spiral is. Why is there a drill power that Simon uses? Why are the Beastman generals always talking about Spiral power, and why humans aren't shit?
Well, I was looking up that apparently, they don't really call him genome. They call him something like genome or some shit like that.
Right.
But like genome, and then like the 4 generals, I think their names resemble the 4 amino acids in DNA strand or proteins in DNA strand or something like that.
Do they?
Yeah. It's like A, D, T, and something else.
Oh, that makes sense. I've never heard that, but that makes sense because they're all based off of his genetics. Like all these beastmen, this whole race of civilization is based off the Spiral King's like science genetic powers. And like one of them, the first guy is like there's a snake woman, and there's a bird chicken dude,
and
who's a
the
rooster.
Turtle guy.
Yeah, and there's an armadillo turtle guy, and that's who we're fighting. It feels like a villain of the week kind of thing.
It almost reminds me of Mega Man.
Yes. Yeah, exactly like Mega Man. How there's just like some different animal-themed robot boss.
Yeah.
And they all have their own cool mechas, and it's like, oh fuck, how's Gurren Lagann gonna fight this big-ass mecha?
He just gets bigger. He just believes in himself more, and he's good.
Yeah, and that's how Kamina dies, because they're trying to steal an entire mecha who's a platform. It's a giant, I don't know, like 1,000-foot boat-looking thing, but it's shaped like a sword, but it's traveling through the desert, and that's like our crew's big plan, because there's a subsection of humanity who's trying to overthrow the Beastmen, and that's how we're going to gain our advantages, by stealing their giant robot. So now the rest of the anime, we have this giant fucking robot that can go over water and flow through space, and it just keeps going bigger and bigger. But that's how Kamina dies. He sacrifices himself so that Simone could live and take over the giant robot.
Yeah, so we kill Genome. They kill Genome. They free the people.
Right.
Much.
So after they kill all the generals, once they go to the Spiral King's lair, which is in and of itself a whole nother giant mecha,
which is like
batshit crazy.
Yeah, is the size of Earth. Like it doesn't fucking make sense.
It doesn't make sense, but there's never any explanation, and that's why it's so perfect. It's a story not being driven by the narrative, it's being driven by the art style, and that's so perfect. It's like there's that subsection of your brain that's like, this is written like garbage, this dialogue doesn't make sense, these characters' motivations are trash, but then you're just looking at what's on screen, which is why anime is a medium. This is the advantage anime has over manga. Right here. It's just flowing and going and going and going, and it's scaling and scaling and scaling, and there's never a stop in sight. And that's why it's just so excellent. Like, this is why people watch anime. Just like to get a sense of of motivation almost. Because I whenever I see Gurren Lagann talk, it's a motivational piece. It's Kamina as a character is trying to, it's that get the fuck out of bed kind of guy. Like, get the fuck up out of bed and conquer the world kind of dude. You know what I mean? Like, stop being comfortable, get out of your comfort zone, go handle that shit and be the best you can be, and you're just gonna keep going up. And that's like 1,000% how Gurren Lagann is. It gives you those warm fuzzies that like you couldn't get from I'm not gonna say any American media, but like, it's not the typical writing style that you'd see in American media. It's something entirely different that only I can gain from anime, from this medium. Yeah. And it's
good. Yeah. And in the first half, for me at least, it kind of seemed a little like overdone. Like,
the dialogue doesn't back up what's happening.
Yeah. So by the time Kamina dies and they kill the Spiral King and they free the people, they start a new civilization, And
so we get a time skip of like 8 years. And so Lord Genome, the Spiral King, created all of the Beastmen from his DNA to include his daughter, who becomes the main love interest of Simone in this, Nia.
This is where it reminds me of NGE, because of our white-haired character in NGE, which his name is, the name of the one guy Shinji was in love with, but
the guy he was in love with. Nagisa.
Yeah.
The guy who was part of the robot or the alien. He was
the alien.
He was the consciousness of the alien from the robot from NGE.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're right. So again, it's stealing narrative bits from NGE, but it's not focusing on it because the style of writing is way different. So we get Nia, and we get right before Simone beats the Spiral King basically by himself, because Kamina's been dead for like 2-3 episodes already. The Spiral King tells him, like, no, like, I was keeping humanity underground so that they would not explode in population and in energy usage and destroy the Earth. But not only that, so that they would not use their willpower to harness spiral power so that the anti-spiral overlords in space would shut them down.
Great fucking name. Just, what are we going to call the bad guys? Fucking anti-spiral.
Anti-spiral civilization. Yeah. Like, that's who the main villain is by the end. The anti-spiral guys. And you're just like, okay, I still don't know what spiral energy is, but whatever the fuck.
We have anti-spiral energy now.
It's, like, my favorite video game series ever, besides maybe Pokemon, is Mass Effect. Like the Mass Effect trilogy. And that's the same plot to Mass Effect, is that there's a group of aliens called Reapers who destroy all life in the galaxy every like 100,000 years, so that they do not become too progressed and too civilized to the point that they start destroying planets and the galaxy. Which is exactly the plot to this, because the anti-spiral race does not want the spiral races, whose humanity and civilization, anybody with a consciousness and willpower can harness spiral energy. They don't want them to advance. Because spiral energy is so powerful and expansive that it can destroy the whole fucking universe.
Yeah.
And it makes no sense. What I said makes no fucking sense. Yeah. But, like, it's so fire just seeing it in action. Because it's like, why do they want to kill us? Because they just hate us to our core. And it's just like, okay, we gotta beat them then. Like,
and then after the time skip, it just becomes a totally different anime.
Yeah,
it's just better animation, better mechas. It's just... the story just keeps developing. Oh, it's almost AOT-ish because of, like, the secret enemy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. There's, like, a deep state vibe to it. I've been watching, I watched the first 2 episodes of the QAnon documentary on HBO Max right before I got here.
I wanted to see it. Yeah.
No, it's super fucking weird and stupid, and all these people are dumbasses. But, like, it's just weird how, like, they're really people that can... Do you know what LARPing is?
Yes.
Live action role playing, correct? Yes. Which was originally coined.
I am a nerd.
Yeah, well, but like for the audience, LARPing was originally coined in the 80s when it came to like people that were into Dungeons and Dragons and stuff, and they would do live action role playing outside of the tabletop role playing that is Dungeons and Dragons, and they would dress up and go into the park and play Dungeons and Dragons. Like QAnon is LARPing. Because it's really people that are pretending that there's this whole secret narrative to how the world works, and that's what keeps them entertained. But they won't call it entertainment because it's them being awoken, and it's the Great Awakening, and that's like, it's them opening their eyes to the real world. But it's LARPing. Like, at its core, it's these people needing to spice up their life and needing to think that there's this huge
conspiracy against them.
Yeah, a sex trafficking ring that isn't even about, like, predatory, like, child sex trafficking. It's about eating children. Like, it's so big and stupid, it's almost like Gurren Lagann Part 2.
Yes. Yeah.
So 8 years after the fall of the Spiral King, Part 2 of Gurren Lagann, which is still season 1, but it starts around episode 13, 14, which is what we know is about the cutoff for a season of anime, around like 12, 13 episodes. So, you know what I mean? It stretched over 2 seasons continuously. And it's about how Simon he's the savior of humanity. You know what I mean? He defeated the Spiral King, destroyed the Beastmen, and he freed civilization from its underground trenches. But there's also this secret underground conspiracy that thinks that Simon is too powerful and too hard-headed.
We didn't even talk about that character. The fucking asshole with the little fucking thing on
Rosu.
Yeah, Rosu. So throughout the first part of Gurren Lagann, when Kamina and Yoko and Simon are, fighting crime, they meet the civilization who thinks that Gurrens are gods and they pray to them.
It's like the vaults from fucking Fallout, right? So like each underground city, cave, civilization is like one of the vaults.
Yeah.
So they meet Rosu, and there's a Lagann. There's a giant robot in the middle of his town underground, and the mayor of the town,
high priest or whatever.
Yeah, the high priest, who also functions as a mayor and the head political figure, commits genocide, or not genocide.
Selective genocide.
Selective genocide, like population control,
like Thanos, but one at a time.
Yeah, 2 or 3 at a time.
2 or 3 at a time.
Because they're underground and there's a lack of resources, they can only support 50 people at a time,
and they pick a fucking faithful asshole to go to the heavens.
Right, and it's also critique on like real world religion, because that's how they're keeping the people in line, by having them commit like or follow really strict guidelines and rules on how to function in society. So that's how he can logic and control them to be like, oh, we gotta go kill 3 fucking people today, but that's because the religion said so. I don't know. But anyways, that's where Rosu comes from, and they break him out of there, and Kamin is still alive at this point, and he's just like, you know what, fuck that religion. Fuck you. Do whatever the fuck you want, bro. Like, this shit's for pussies. Like, why are you gonna follow religion? And Rosu's just like, what? I'm not shackled by this made up fucking book that I can't even read. And but he's Simon's right-hand man in the future, which is why we're bringing him up now.
Yes.
And he's the shadow figure in the government. Like, he's the person really in charge.
He's like Dick Cheney.
Yeah. Yeah, that was too real of an example. I was going to say, like, Boris Johnson or something, but, like, you calling him Dick Cheney's, like, too real? Yeah, because Simone was like, he's such like a happy dumbass who's just like
George Bush.
Yeah, he's just swinging his dick around. He's like, Afghanistan talk shit about us, we're gonna fuck them up. Iraq talk shit about us, we're gonna fuck them up. But then it's really Dick Cheney being like, yeah, I'm gonna convince Bush to do this and that so that I can make these government contracts and make all this money for my political donors.
Yeah. Very real.
Super real.
I like
it's
it.
ironic that it came out in 2007 too. Like,
oh, right.
That's what I'm saying. It's so... Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
But yeah, so...
He shot him in the face. He shot Simon in the face, pretty much.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
He cucked him real bad. So... Nia, who was the daughter of the Spiral King, who's been dating Simone for the past 8 years, and Simone's now the Hokage or whatever the fuck. he out of nowhere one day, aliens show up, and Nia just turns into a robot, and she's like, "Fuck you, Simone! Like, we need to kill society because they're gaining too much spiral energy, and they're gonna kill all of us." And so Rosu, trying to take advantage of the situation for his own political gain, streams that on live television for all of this modern civilization to hear and read, to sow distrust in Simone as their political leader.
And just overthrows, like, mutiny.
Yeah, they mutinize him, but, like, it through the court system, which, like, also happens in a fascist government. So, I don't, yeah, there's a lot of, like...
Russia.
Russia, I don't know.
I mean, it happens more in Russia than
Matt Gates. Matt Gates. Anyways, so Nia's leaves, and she's an anti-spiral alien now. And I don't even remember the logic for it. It was because her dad, who was the Spiral King, fought against the anti-spiral overlord aliens, and that's why he kept society underground, because if the spiral races ever got too powerful, then the anti-spiral universal overlords would destroy them and eliminate them completely.
So what I understood from this is that the aliens made a artificial spiral energy person, which is a human pretty much. Mm-hmm. And they made it with that, with the Spiral King's DNA, right? Or something like that.
Something like that.
And it turned out to be the daughter. But then when we meet Nia. I'm sorry, it's because she reminded me of Nia because of all the alchemist stuff. Yeah. But, so when we meet Nia, we're led to believe that her dad abandoned her and her dad is evil, but the reason why is because the dad knew that this was a made-up being from the aliens, right?
Right. So
so when she's like, she's like, oh, I've always been half alien, half spiral energy person, and that's why she fucking deflects, quote unquote.
Right, and this is where it turns into like the last 5 episodes of Darling in the Franxx, because it's that same narrative where it's like, Joe, let's get the gang back together, let's go out to space, let's save my girl. And that's what the anime turns into for like the last 5-6 episodes. And it's super, like, it makes zero sense. Everything that happens, like, the moment they hit space and onwards, makes zero sense. But it's so good. Like, it's just so good because it's like, we get so much backstory and character development just in the next like 3-4 episodes out of nowhere, because there's been a mole that's been following around the team this entire time, who we haven't even talked about.
Yeah, he's always in Yoko's breast because anime shit.
Yeah.
You know? But I think we're short selling you guys on the character development, because we're not only just following Simone, Yoko, and Kamina.
It's a whole gang.
It's a whole ass fucking set of characters.
Yeah.
We have like the super scientist guy. We have like the 2 guys and like the guy that has the 2 sisters. and they all have a little arcing story to them.
Yeah, and they all show up. Like the narrative structure in after the time skip is that like all these people that help overthrow the Spiral King and overthrow the Beastmen have now become like really lazy integral parts of society and the government. And they were just all soldiers, you know what I mean? They were piloting mechas and punching beastmen in the face. And now all of a sudden they're politicians and they're part of the government and they don't know how to function like that. So the minute they get the call to action from Simon, where he's like, we're getting the gang back together, let's go fucking get my girl. That's exactly what happened. They just all drop everything. And when there's the fake court case against Simon, they're all on his side. But there's only like half an episode of struggle there, like after Simon gets convicted, air quotes convicted. Yeah. Because it doesn't even matter. We just need a narrative payoff for him to go to space and save Nia. And that's what happens. Like, they get mechas on mechas on mechas. They get that giant walking mecha from the first half, and now they, like, I don't know, in episode like 12 or 13, they made it capable to swim through the ocean. Right, but then in this part, they need to go through space, and now it's space ready. And now it's able to
space turns into water.
Yeah, and oh god, it doesn't make sense. It makes at a certain point in space, the space-time continuum turns into an ocean. Yeah, and you need a certain setup to even get through that ocean.
You need a certain amount of will to get out of there.
Yeah. And somewhere within, like, episodes like 15, 16, 17, we get, like, a Yoko-centric episode. Just out of nowhere. It's about what she's been doing in the time skip. She didn't like that Simon was becoming a politician and part of the government. She didn't like how things were super rigid and structured. So she goes on an island and she becomes an instructor to a bunch of little kids. And that's, like... So her call to action in these last few episodes is her being like, I need to protect my kids. I need to go protect my students. So I'm going to do what I do best, and I'm a big badass sniper bitch, and I'm going to go shoot an alien in the face. And that's exactly what happens, because they make a supercomputer out of the Spiral King's consciousness.
Yes, sir.
Which, again, doesn't make sense. It's super dumb. But, you know what I mean? He tries to throw in some fake logic and some fake science whenever some super batshit crazy stuff happens, because it's like, oh, the anti-spiral energy is so big we can't get through their force field, but if only we had extra willpower, and we get a whole nother... They're almost filler episodes, but they're not filler episodes, because if the main villain is this anti-spiral alien race... they are able to use their anti-spiral powers to put everybody in limbo. And what we find out about the Spiral King is he was one of the original spiral warriors that created an army to go fight the anti-spiral races so that the spiral races could take over the universe and like prosper and continue to grow. But the anti-spirals just refused to let the spiral civilizations grow. So that's why he got like secluded to Earth, and that's why he was trying to keep society underground. But once we meet the anti-spiral civilization again, he's the one that's able to break everybody out of this like filler episode trance where they're just in a dreamlike state.
Hold on, we brought up the mole.
Yeah,
for a reason.
Fun. Yeah.
The mole in some 18, 19, 20 episode, he is a super mega source of spiral energy, which helps in one of the battles towards getting Buta. Yeah, the mole. And he becomes the trump card in one of the fights where they fight this two meteors that have faces and arms and shit, right? And yeah, so pretty much what you said right now about the Spiral King, yes. So, but it's good to know that we have this super crazy trump card. Yeah, and that's what ends up happening because he's a pig mole, is I guess what they were calling him, because they were raising these pig moles underground, and that was their meat source. But Buta, because he's not a human,
when everyone else gets put in this trance-like state, he's the only one that has spiral energy left because he now has willpower and ambition through his interacting with Simone, that now he's a source of spiral energy and he is able to overcome the anti-spiral civilization's power of mind control, and he becomes a human. But the minute he becomes a human,
he gets caught in the trance.
Yeah, now he's stuck in the trance because now he's human and he's susceptible to anti-spiral energy.
And it's good. And it's good.
Oh my god. Like, you don't know what's going on. Like, you're just like, fuck. Like, I guess. And so everyone wakes up from their spiral energy trance. Even, like, the Beastman, who is our main enemy in part 1, is now part of the crew.
Yes.
Because we get a prison break episode.
And part of this big old, like, Voltron kind of fucking piece of fucking Gurren, because it's just everybody fighting now within the same Gurren. Like, you have the head of Simone, and then what he was coming as Gurren, and then you have him inside another big old Gurren, and so on and so on and so on. And it's just stupid, but it's so good.
Yeah.
Because it's just drilling into each other and giving each other energy.
It's just funny that they make metaphors and, like, speeches out of drills, because there's a piece of dialogue.
My drill is in my heart.
Yeah.
Which I will dig myself out of any problem. And some shit like that, dude. And it's so...
There's a quote in, like, either the last episode or the second to last episode that comes from Simon. And he's a drill nerd, right? So it reads, "We evolved beyond the person we were a minute before. Little by little, we advance a little further with each turn. That's how a drill works." The writers made a metaphor about character growth from a literal drill. And that is the main driving force in the last 3 episodes, is like, you know what? I'm a drill, so I'm going to keep growing. And that's
what anime is.
Yeah.
That's what anime is.
That's it. It's so crazy because the minute they get out of the trance, we get this badass scene where everyone just lines up and they're now all spiral power masters. Whoa.
I would like to talk about the trance, because the trance puts them in this almost like fate reality thing where Simone, and this is where it reminds me again of NGE, because it's almost in a trance on everybody, because, for example, Simone in his trance still thinks that Kamina is alive and they're still doing their shenanigans and whatnot. Yoko, she is at school and she's teaching her kids and stuff. And what else do we have?
The Beastman dude, whatever his name is.
Beastman dude, he married the girl he liked. And he has a family and he's living non-violently like he always did. And it's like this little super trances, almost like
V-roll,
almost like Get Out.
Yeah,
almost.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. But you know what I mean? At a certain part of their consciousness, they're like, you know what? This isn't right. Like, this sounds great, and this is everything I've ever wanted, but, like, this is not reality, so I can't accept it. And that's when they all bust out of that trance, and they all now, because they have willpower and they
follow Simone out of the trance.
They follow Simone out of the trance because the metaphor for him is he's a giant rocket. Like, rocketing out of the trance. And that's how we're supposed to feel. It's just like, you know what? That's my ride. I'm out of here. Like, that is my inspirational source. So I am on my way out of this trance with Simone.
Because I believe the translation to Gurren Lagann is sky bursting.
Yeah.
Gurren Lagann.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like, I'm getting out of here kind of thing.
Yeah, like, so much of that translation is both literal because it's just big sky-bursting explosions. But at the same time, like, what you're supposed to get out of it is not only is it about the friends you made along the way, but it's like you bursting past your own limitations, getting out of your own head, getting out of your own safe space. You know what I mean? You're a fucking nerd listening to this. Gurren Lagann and adult Simone and Kamina would tell you, go talk to that fucking girl, dude. Like, go apply for that job, quit.
Put some deodorant.
Go put some deodorant on, bust out of whatever bum situation you're fucking in, and, like, make the most of it. Like, you take the world by the balls and, like, you make the most of it. And that's Gurren Lagann at its core, because once they get out of the trance, it's just scaling on scaling on scaling for 3 episodes.
Bro, this mecha gets, like, bigger than a galaxy.
Its universe is big.
It's standing on the galaxy. They're fighting on the galaxy.
They fight with galaxies. They will throw galaxies at each other.
They're so big, not even the space between stars in the galaxy is enough for them to seep through, so they're standing on the goddamn galaxy.
Yeah. Because, so now everyone has access to spiral energy, and they make one giant mecha. And the anti-spiral race makes their own anti-spiral energy mecha. And it's just you being like, you know what? I'm gonna punch you in the face. And the last fight scene starts with the anti-spiral race and their mecha grabbing several galaxies, shoving them together, and throwing them at Galaxy Big Gurren Lagann. And the science dude, like, we get very little exposition, but the exposition we do get is just like, hey, except something massive's happening. Because the scientist guy, when this happens, is like, oh my god, it's like a big bang again, and he's throwing the energy of these galaxies at us. And the artificial computer of the Spiral Lord, like, he now has another body through spiral energy, but he sacrifices himself for the spiral races, and he recreates through spiral energy and his will force his mecha,
his own mecha
from like episode 9. It comes out again, and he's able to block the anti-spiral blast, but he decomposes and is able to recompose the anti-spiral energy into spiral energy. So he turns himself into a giant drill, and he says, Simon, grab me being the drill, and drill and fuck him up and fuck up this anti-spiral dude. So it's just like 9 minutes of just scaling and it's just like, because they reawaken their spiral powers even more. So now Gurren Lagann looks like a giant energy, universally large Kamina with blue energy and the red sunglasses and a cape, and he's like, we are super mega duper stupendous Gurren Lagann.
Taking Gurren Lagann, which is like the super galaxy Gurren Lagann.
And everyone on Earth is watching the fight happen too, because the anti-spirals, because they're so massively big, you can see them from space, which is like, it's so stupid logic, but like it's so cool at the same time.
Yes.
So it almost feels like the Goku making the spirit bomb. Like everyone on Earth is like listening to him and hearing him. Like, you can do it. You can do it. I almost said Kamina. You can do it, Simon. You can do it too. And the character design for Simon in this part is Kamina.
Yeah, it's grown up Kamina.
Yeah, it's just Kamina, because Simon was just this whiny little bitch with like sad droop down hair in the first part, but now his hair is super spiked up, and he's not wearing a shirt, and he has a cape, and he's wearing spiky sunglasses, and that's him fulfilling his duty as the hero. Like, he has come into his own. It's the visual trigger for you to be like, no, he's not that sad droopy boy anymore. He's a fucking man, and he's here to punch the anti-spiral in the face.
And what do we get? We just
get like 9 minutes of like just bigger and bigger shit happening.
If I can put the last minute of the fight, it would be that big ass robot that we just talked about, and him punching himself through each one of his forms. Like he
because it's Lagann, who's inside of Gurren Lagann, exactly. Who is inside of...
So as he punches, as the big old fucking galaxy-sized Gurren Lagann, he starts deteriorating because the other guy is also attacking. He starts deteriorating in like layers form of each one of his forms, and he gets into his last fucking form, which is just Lagann, the head with the drill under, and he just fucks him up. And
it scales down. It scales up immensely to a universe Watson, and then it just scales down, but it's still so cool because, like, you're right, it's the Lagann just running towards the anti-spiral, and then they jump into an extra universe, and it's just Simon in humanoid form just punching the anti-spiral, and he's fucking him up, and he's putting spikes through him, but still just beating the shit out of him. It feels like there's You're not there yet because we just talked off mic about like where you're at in One Piece. You're on like episode 120, 130 something. Around like episode like 300, 400 before the time skip, there is a piece of animation that's famous amongst One Piece fans in the One Piece anime where there's an island full of bubbles. and you meet you meet the political rulers of the land in One Piece, of the government. And it's this guy that's buying slaves, and he's buying mermaids and stuff, and it pisses off Luffy because Luffy's just a super righteous dude, you know what I mean? So it's an impactful scene that's simplified in animation. So it goes to black and whites. It starts looking like pencil, and it's non-shaded lining, and it's super shady, and a lot of cutting and a lot of like jagged lines that don't always fill up between frames. But it's cool because you can still see what's happening, because the impact is so big.
It's rough drafts, pretty much.
Yeah, the impact is so big. It's like the lining of the universe had to get dumbed down for it. So that happens in the scene in One Piece, but that happens right here in Gurren Lagann. Because the final punch on the dude is just black and white colored pencil animation. But it gives you those chills like running down your back. You know what I mean? It's just like, I want to go out into the real world and accomplish some shit. Like, this is so big. This is so epic. This is so fuck. Like,
it's good, dude. It's good. And I was telling Vianney when I was watching, I'm like, okay, I like mechas, but I'm not digging it. I was skeptical about the payout that I was gonna get. And this morning I finished the last 3 episodes, and I was just shit-founded, bro. I was like, oh shit, like, this shit is good. This shit is really good. And then to shit more on Darling and the Franxx, they end with a fucking wedding scene. Yeah. Because he ends up rescuing Nina from the anti-spiral energy dude, and he gets her back.
But because she's made of anti-spiral energy...
And spiral energy.
Through the destruction of the anti-spiral energy, she loses her form. So, yeah, they get
married, she deteriorizes.
Yeah, the second to last scene is literally the wedding scene. Everyone's there. He puts a ring on her, and she just dissipates.
Yeah, and they were able to get married. Simone, he was aware of this. You know?
He accepted it.
He accepted it, and now, like you said, they leave this path for a new generation, which is that little dude in the red hair.
Yeah, because the very last scene is Simone has completely...
Gimme Adai, something like that?
Something like that. Because the very last scene is Simone detaches himself from the government and his political positions and all that. He's like, I know I created all this, but I'm done. Like, I be the bosses of all bosses. I'm going to go be a hermit. And there's a whole new generation. And this guy just watching the Lagans take off from his little town from outside the big city. And he's like, oh, that's so cool. I want to be a Lagan. And that's like in the real world, that'd be like you watching a NASA ship taking off, watching planes taking off, be like, I'm going to travel someday. I'm going to be out there. And it's just hermit Simone just being like, you know what, dude, you can do it. You get out there. And that's like the end of the hero's journey.
And not only that, he was like, whenever you guys need me, I'll be glad to help.
And that's Simone setting up the next call to adventure for the next generation. And that's why, like, the call to adventure and the hero's journey is cyclical for exactly that reason. Because it leaves you wishing the best for the next generation. Because we know how hard it was for Simone.
And in some of the rarest occasions, this is where we have an anime original and it continued as a manga. And I'm telling you, man, like, this has multiple redemption arcs, multiple relationship arcs. It has Voltron, it has mechas, it has Gundam, it has Power Rangers, it has a lot to bring to the fucking table, and it delivers at the end.
Like, if I was these guys, if I was the guys that created Studio Trigger, and I was able to make something like this, and with your best friend, you know what I mean? And if you were just like, you know what? This is the perfect thing that we wanted to make, even though it had a mixed reception, like professionally, and a mixed reception, like amongst the public, and the viewing rates were all over the place across the world. It's such like a, this is gonna sound corny, but it feels like a cultural phenomenon in and of itself. Like, it's such, like, every trope that's brought up here is just taken up to 11. And if you're Imayashi or Otsuka and these dudes, and you just were able to create this perfect thing in your eyes with somebody else looking over you, why wouldn't you make an entire anime studio based around this one work? And that's all Studio Trigger is. They were just like, you know what? We don't need Gainax. We don't need to keep producing an NGE ripoff every year until I die. I can make Gurren Lagann ripoffs every year till I die.
Yeah. Hey, fuck it, man. It's and just like our talk in I Wanna Eat Your Pancreas, if it would have had that sprinkle of just a little smut,
yeah,
it would have been fucking perfect. Akame got killed. It's almost like Akame got killed, but I feel like I got a better payout.
Yeah. And I feel like last year when we were doing Akame got killed, and this year I feel like I hear Akame got killed get talked about more, which makes no sense to me. Because if you were going to watch a shonen with not good writing, but that is entirely carried by the visual representation, just watch Gurren Lagann. Times a million. Like, you will not be disappointed. It makes Kill la Kill make sense. It makes SSS Gridman make sense. It makes...
I don't know.
No?
No. SSS Gridman's still on my shit list.
I like it because it's a lot of the same. It's the same tropes. It's like the...
But not well delivered. Not well executed. Not as good as Gurren Lagann, for me, at least.
For you, at least. Yeah. But, yeah. Definite thumbs up.
Yeah, I haven't given a biddy rating, but I'll give it a 10 out of 10 biddy rating, brother.
Bro, it's great.
It's good.
This is my top 5 anime ever.
It's good.
Like, it has its problems. I will agree with you on most of the problems that are brought up, like, when discussing and critiquing Gurren Lagann. 1,000%. But, like, just, there's nothing else like it. Like, it has been almost 15 years since the creation of Studio Trigger as a reduction of Studio Gainax, and they've been trying to recreate this magic that entire time. It's great. It's the best of the best. I can't put into words how strongly I feel about it, and I feel like that's me doing a disservice because I'm in a talking medium right now, where I'm supposed to describe it in words, but I just can't. Hey,
watch it. I mean, it was a suggestion. I knew it was, pop culture, but man, it's good. Watch it. I don't have anything else to say about Gurren Lagann. It was good, Go, bro. Go get him, dude. It's fucking good.
Go get your shit. Go ask for that. Go ask that girl out. Go ask that boy out. Whatever the fuck you're into, bro. Go ask for that raise. Go ask for that promotion. You get the fuck out there, because you know what Kamina would say? Like, if you have the willpower and the strength to do it, just fucking do it. Like, don't let somebody talk you out of it. And that's Gurren Lagann in a nutshell. Nerd down?
Nerd down.
Nerd down.
Nerd down.
And that was episode 38, nerds. Gurren Lagann, 2007. Oh my god, that was fucking awesome. I haven't had such a good time and a bad time watching something. The first half was a little painful for me because of like the expectations that I had, but man, that shit was great.
Yeah, absolutely excited. You know what I'm not excited to watch, which I know I should be watching, is episode 4 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I know that's disappointing. In episode 1 and 2 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier were so good. They were so I like Marvel action. I like the quick cuts, even though they're hard to follow.
What didn't you like about episode 3? Because I thought it was pretty good.
The pacing. I tried explaining this to you through text Thursday or Wednesday, and it felt like watching an episode of Dead Man Wonderland, because the pacing was so off and the narrative structure and the writing was so weird that it just felt wrong, in my gut, that immediately after I finished watching episode 3, I had to watch a new Rockstars video explaining why episode 3 was shit. Because I was like, there's something wrong here. There's something very wrong that I'm picking up on, and I can't put my thumb on what it is. So I know you watch a lot of new Rockstars. I don't that much unless I really need some explanation. But on new Rockstars, they were explaining that they cut a bunch of scenes and they changed the narrative because originally it was about stealing vaccines, which you see in episode 1 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But because of COVID actually happening, they had to change the entire plot. So
for that episode?
Yeah, for that one episode. I don't know why it all like stacked up in episode 3, but it was just like the first scene in episode 3 is them walking down that bridge. Mm-hmm. And it's Falcon being like, you're an African prince or something, and this is the guy you're going to pretend to be. And then they immediately get picked up by a car, and it was clear that that was a reshoot to me from the first 5 minutes, because it's like, so you're saying narratively they got dropped off at one end of the bridge just to be followed by a car to pick them up at the end of the bridge.
Well, in the story, they're heading to a criminal country.
Right.
They're heading to
they're in a freeway between both the south ends and north ends of like some made up
country, criminal country.
Yeah, some Pan-American, Pan-Pacific island country. It feels like Hong Kong. It feels like the Philippines. It feels like Singapore.
Yeah, so in the comics, there's this made-up place that it's just like people just, bounty hunters. There's just people just doing crime. And
it's how the Caribbean was in the 1700s.
And I don't think that scene was...
It was just clear that it didn't originally belong. And that was my thing, because that sets up the tone for the whole episode. And then the rest of the episode is a lot of like, watching it with Karen like upset me almost even more, because there's a lot of characters that were introduced like 7-8 years ago in the MCU, and they never fully explained who it was in the terms of the show, because WandaVision is a lot of hand-holding. It will tell you, like...
Yeah, the FBI scenes were all hand-holding.
Right. They will tell you why Wanda's important. They will tell you why Vision's important. Even though, like, you should know that because these are, like, really, really big-name characters in the Avengers series. But they will explain to you, so it was easy for Karen to, like, follow through and be like, oh, okay, I see why Wanda's important. Oh, I see how Vision's like involved in this. But the thing about Falcon and the Winter Soldier is there's a lot of like tier 3, tier 4 characters that are reintroduced, and like in the feeling of the episode, it's clear that it's supposed to have like big emotional weight, but unless you're like constantly
invested.
Invested, but not only invested, but like reintroducing yourself in these characters and watching.
If you're a nerd,
if you're watching videos on YouTube that's like, this is who we think is going to be reintroduced, and this is why they're important. This is why when they were introduced in the MCU. But if you're just like some random person just trying to enjoy a show on Disney Plus, it's going to be super hard to follow, and you're not going to have the same emotional weight, and it's going to piss you the fuck off, because it's like, why? Like, who the fuck is this guy in the fur coat that's bossing around the Winter Soldier? Like, for what? He had 15 minutes of screen time in Civil War, which in and of itself came out like 6-7 years ago already. Mm-hmm. And I'm really, really disappointed in how that episode turned out. I hope maybe episode 4 is different. I didn't watch yesterday. I didn't watch today. I'm sorry.
I do get your frustrations in the rewriting or in reshooting of episode 3 because of the vaccines. Because even the actress that portrays Donya, the lady that died, like, it seems like that was her plan, and that's the initial motivation of Flag Smashers as far as like helping people. But then in episode, I believe it's in episode 3, you meet Donya at the end, right? Mm-hmm. The lady that died, right? Mm-hmm. So because of that lack of that little arcing story of her trying to be helpful or being a helpful organization, the antagonist, which is the lead of the Flag Smashers, that one girl, her motivations are kind of lost in translation. Yeah,
and it's not only like the writing and the motivations that get me. It's clear that the pacing was off, because the first 15-20 minutes set up a narrative structure that's supposed to be they're infiltrating a club. They're supposed to be cool. They're supposed to be super smooth. But then the second half is super chaotic, but not in a good way. It feels messy. It feels like it's so messy. If you were to turn off the dialogue and the subtitles and all that, you would not be able to tell the plot, because it's just like jumping from location to location. And the only thing that ties it together is the characters being like, oh, okay, we gotta head to Uptown for X reason. We gotta head to Town for X reason. As opposed to being like, you feeling that there is a real motivation and overarching structure. It feels like they're taking it from act to act.
Well, not really, man. I know, and I get your point, because if you're a fan, like some people are fans, you know that the payout is there on those episodes. But if you're just a casual viewer of the MCU and this new Disney Plus, TV series that they have, like, the motivation, like in episode, I believe it's in episode 2, where the Winter Soldier tells
the therapist?
Tells Falcon, tells Sam that he's like, dude, if Captain America was wrong about you, that means he was wrong about me. That's like his internal conflict.
That was a good scene. I like that scene a lot. That's what I'm saying. I thought episode 2 was really good because, like, I think the acting coming out of the therapist was solid. Like, hella solid. The end of episode 2, when she's like, you know what, Falcon Winter Soldier in a room with me right fucking now, because I'm not discharging him unless I have a sense of, like, the psychiatric, relationship that's going on here. And they treat it like the metaphor for the series, which is the relationship, not sexual relationship, but the partnership, the working relationship between the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is what the series is supposed to be about.
And knowing if you really are good, because it's the same conflict with Sam. Sam did not see himself worthy of carrying this mantle.
Everyone thought Rogers was like the greatest fucking guy. Like, Steve Rogers was just like the end all be all god of a dude.
Absolutely.
And that's how he was in the comics.
And I think episode 3 didn't give you enough, and I understand you, but episode 4, it's gonna give a little more context within the conflict surrounding the serum, the super serum holder.
I hope so. I think that's the most interesting part of this story, and like, I'm disappointed how like it took a back roll like in episode 3, but I don't know. I wish they just left the narrative alone, period, because WandaVision never had this problem.
You didn't like the first 3 episodes. You said they were boring.
I was apprehensive. That's different.
You said they were boring.
They were boring. They are boring. They are boring. That is not a lie. But like they do have the payoff, just like the first 8 episodes of Gurren Lagann are boring. Mm-hmm. They do have the emotional payoff, and them delaying the production until they had a comfortable grounding in the COVID situation, as opposed to rewriting during COVID and reshooting during COVID, helped them.
They just did like post.
Yeah. As opposed to it being the Snyder situation and like having to reshoot and like restructure somebody else's vision. In a story about WandaVision, like they were able to keep it cohesive, and that's my biggest thing, because off the bat, like, WandaVision is already Disney Plus's highest rated original series, movie, show, period.
Watching it, yeah.
Right. This is not going to be the same thing. This is not going to bring in the streams and the revenue in Disney's eyes, and that's what concerns me, because they've already fucked up halfway through the series. Not even halfway through the series, like a third of the way through the series, because The Mandalorian never had this issue. Mandalorian has always had the greatest fucking pacing and some of the best writing of any original television in the past 4 or 5 years, period. And WandaVision, although not original writing, not groundbreaking, it was digestible enough, and the animation and directing styles were quality enough that it made for a blockbuster hit. It's clear that Disney Plus was able to make more money than WandaVision put into it. But Falcon and the Winter Soldier clearly took a bunch of fighting coaches. It's a lot of like really niche
shit.
It's really niche CGI. Like the way they use CGI is really like, here's an entire, that's not like an entire monster out of CGI. It's really like effects to help you understand the scene more. It's complementary to the scene.
But on contrary to WandaVision, in WandaVision, we kind of knew where the story was going because it's based surrounding a couple of stories.
It was clear like what was going to happen.
We don't know what the end game is with fucking Winter Soldier.
We don't.
And that's what scares me. And it scares me in a good way, because the way it's scaring you is like, holy shit, they're fucking up already. Mm-hmm. I still don't know what the end game is on that. Because remember Daredevil, Netflix Daredevil?
I loved it. Season 2, probably the best Marvel Netflix original season.
First season, he didn't get his costume until the end.
Yeah, very last episode.
You know what I'm saying? So
Second half of the last
I would not
episode.
be surprised if we see that payout at the end of these of this.
I agree completely. If I were a betting man, and if there were a betting market for this, I would say the very end is either Sam Wilson or the Winter Soldier are going to be Captain America.
Yeah.
Right? Like 1,000%, it has to be the narrative payoff. And then by fucking Spider-Man Return from Home, like there's going to be a cameo of Sam Wilson, Captain America armor, being like, oh, I'm here to save you, Spider-Man, or whatever the fuck. Who knows?
Yeah. But it doesn't make me, I mean, don't get me wrong. They already fucked up with episode 3 as far as the reshoots, the shitty audio. They should have just left it.
They should have just left it.
They should have just left it. We're not scared, bro. Like
I remember in episode 1 thinking it was cool they brought up vaccines. Because I binged episodes 1 through 3 because I was just late. I'm sorry. Like, I watched them all at once. And I'm watching episode 1 with Karen. He jumps into the van with all the stolen vaccines. He's like, holy shit, these are vaccines. I was like, oh, like COVID. Like, oh, they could totally steal vaccines and sell them to like an Eastern European country. That makes so much sense. But then for them to be like, oh, we can't bring up vaccines or viruses.
People are sad.
Yeah. Oh,
Shut
my God.
up. Yeah.
Oh, you fucked up.
Yeah, they fucked up on that. But I'm sure it's gonna have a payout. I mean, we've talked about this before. Even the duds are not that bad.
They're not, because it's like, okay, Captain Marvel wasn't necessarily a dud, but
it wasn't necessarily a big.
It wasn't a huge hit either. Like, it didn't add a whole lot. It didn't blow my mind about like what the Marvel Universe could do. But, you know, it's very average as far as a standalone movie is concerned. But as far as like narrative structure, it helps so much. It helps like bring in a bunch of different elements, which is like what the Marvel Universe is missing, because Captain America, the Winter Soldier was my favorite MCU movie before Endgame.
That shit was the dopest
because
shit,
it's an espionage movie. It's a completely different genre
Deflection, all this shit.
It's espionage. It's James Bond, but Captain America. And they're finally bringing back that element where it's like, yo, Captain America was fighting against QAnon. He was fighting against the secret cabal to take over the world.
Yeah, Nazis, yes.
Yeah, but you get what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
And that's what's so cool about it. So we're back in that scene. We're back in that flavor, but it's just a piece of my brain is just like, this is poor. They're fucking up. This isn't The Godfather. Like,
this isn't The Godfather. I like it. But I think it's good. I can't wait for you to watch the other episode. We can talk about it next week. Yeah, because next week we're still doing another fucking episode.
Yeah, we are doing another episode. Whoa.
But first, nerds, you guys did not use the hashtag last month.
No.
You guys have 3 weeks to use this new hashtag, which is going to be hashtag Asian Nerds.
Yep, we love Asian nerds.
And we're going to be donated to the Pan-Pacific.
The Pan-Pacific American Leaders and Mentors El Paso chapter.
El Paso chapter, absolutely. We love, we have a fucking anime podcast. We love fucking it. You know, Japanese people.
Yeah, they're fire.
Cambodians, everybody.
Yeah. Cambodians, Vietnamese, all them.
Anybody.
Hawaiians, who cares?
But, yes, and we are going to buff the giveaway. So we are going to think about this. I don't know if we're going to look for it locally, but we are going to give a sneak peek so you guys can fucking use the hashtag.
Yeah. It's going to be something big, something real big. Like, any new listeners, please just use hashtag Asian Nerds on Twitter or Instagram, an original tweet or Instagram post, and you will be entered into our April giveaway. And right now we have 0 entries. The moment we're recording it, there's 0 entries. So if you're the sole person that uses hashtag Asian Nerds, then you will 100% win the April giveaway, which is going to be a double stacked giveaway because nobody used the March hashtag.
Yeah. And if we see something in your profile that maybe is hinting at one of your favorite animes or one of your favorite characters or something like that, guess what? We might fucking get you that.
We give people cool One Piece shit and cool Naruto shit.
Oh, by the way, shout out to Rachel for posting her picture with her Sakura Thank you. I'm glad you liked it. Please follow us and subscribe to Between Nerds at everything. Twitter, any podcast platform.
It's Between Nerds on Twitter and Instagram. It's Between Nerds on I almost said Twitch. Yeah, TikTok. It's Between Nerds podcast on YouTube. Please email us question, comments, or concern betweennerdspodcast@gmail.com. You can at me directly. I don't even know what my Twitter is. Is it Drew Phillip or Drew Elias? It's Drew Elias. Hashtag DREWALIYAS.
And you can follow me at All These Vibes. ALDEEZVIVZ.
Yeah, whatever the fuck it is.
But yes, follow me on that. And we are fucking doing episode 39, right? Episode 39 on
next week.
On Full Metal Alchemist. We fucking ran ourselves into a corner of 67 fucking episodes. I don't know how this happened.
It's like 60, it's like 64, 65. Fuck, I thought this would be so much easier. Like, I am halfway through the series. I'm about to watch episode 7 of season 3 of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. And what we were talking about off mic is just like, what I know well about Full Metal is taken from the original series. And the original series would spend 2, 3, 4 episodes on something that's one episode in Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Yep.
And, like, Full Metal Alchemist, the original, was TVMA. This one's TV-14. But that does not take away from Brotherhood. Because the scaling on Brotherhood, like, at a certain point, feels like Gurren Lagann. Except less so, because it has more episodes to do it. But, like, all the really big, controversial, like, soul-shattering scenes from the original are like half an episode in Brotherhood.
It's like the first episode of AOT for like 7 episodes.
Yeah, it's just like, you want to feel sad and fucked up?
Here's the first episode of AOT again.
Yeah, here's this for 13 episodes.
Yeah.
And then it's not till season 2 that you really get into like overarching structures and like what the series was supposed to be. And like the tone is different because Full Metal Alchemist, the original, was really gory and like would just like it was so edgelordy, like Dead Man Wonderland is almost, where it just wants to jerk itself off on its own blood animation.
On the original, right?
On the original.
Yeah.
Brotherhood is just like, here's something super fucked up, and you're gonna see it in 10 minutes, and that's it.
You know what I would like something like that to happen to The Walking Dead? Like, fuck The Walking Dead.
I know I watched the entire first season of The Walking Dead.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't even remember what it's about.
You know how long you know how much the first season of The Walking Dead covers in the comics?
How much?
Like the first 10 issues.
That's not a lot.
Yeah.
It's not a lot at all.
No, it's not.
Wow.
It's super draggy. It's super full of fucking filler.
It's a lot of talking.
It's like an anime keeping up with a manga. Mm-hmm. It's just stupid. It's just ridiculous.
And that's exactly what happened in the original Full Metal Alchemist. It's just, it ran too quickly and too close to the manga. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that Studio Mappa and Attack on Titan, the final season, has been cut into 2 seasons.
Do you know what the current studio is for Bleach?
No, I don't know, actually.
So, I was hearing some bad things about the new Bleach.
Already? It's not even out. How's that possible?
Well, not about the new Bleach, about the studio that has the entertainment rights to Bleach.
Okay.
And apparently, they've done this to a lot of different animes where the creator wanted to finish at a point, and now he's being forced to continue it.
It's Studio Colorido, who I've never heard of, which I know they produced the Burn the Witch short series for Shonen Jump, which turned into a Crunchyroll original, which is part of the One Piece expanded universe. But I don't know who that is. So I think you're right. Like, I'm a little concerned, like, what that would mean for the Bleach anime reboot.
Yeah, so from what I was reading and some articles that I was reading, I mean, I don't know if it's fake or not. I mean, it's so hard to get news on anime that, you know?
Yeah.
And I heard that Bleach might not be as good as they want it to be. But what I was going to the point of is that, what were we talking about before that?
We were talking about... I already forgot.
Holy shit. The difference between Brotherhood and the original.
Right.
Yeah. And The Walking Dead is like just Give it time. Give it time, because I'm so glad they did that with Brotherhood, because it's digestible now. It's
yeah, and it's just like once you get through season 1, it's like none of the things that the original was focusing on mattered. None of it. Like, and it's like it's disappointing because it's a different tonal like shift, and like what it wants to emphasize is way different. Like there's a lot of cutaway gags and a lot of like joke animation, which like the original would have never done. But the thing about Brotherhood is just like the narrative gets so layered and it gets so structured. And again, it's like an espionage, government within sub-government kind of narrative. And it's just like, fuck me. Like it's about gods and deconstruction and military coups, and it's so
mutiny, and
it's so much better than like the bullshit the original was focusing on, because it was like 3 episodes about a false priest, and isn't religion all fake because everyone's trying to control you through their false religious narrative, which is like, okay, I get it, like that's fine, that's all right. Like we just talked about that in Gurren Lagann. But to spend 3-4 episodes of that in the original was like super annoying and time consuming. But then in this, it's like 20 minutes in and out. Like you just destroyed an entire religion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's good. I forgot how good it was.
Yeah, me too.
And I don't think I ever watched Brotherhood. I think I had only seen the original. But when I started Brotherhood, I was like, oh, this is the same thing.
I only watched bits and pieces, I think. So I never had a real sense of what was going on, because in the original, you know, trying to watch stuff on an Adult Swim or Toonami at 4 a.m. was super hard. You know what I mean? So we never had a real sense of like the real plot to Inuyasha, the real plot to the original Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, or the original FMA. But through watching it sequentially like this, all my questions when Brotherhood would come on at 4 a.m. are like being answered. Because it's like, why the fuck is that Chinese dude like 4 different people in the anime when like he's both a homunculus, but he's also the ruler. But then like it makes sense. It's so good, and it's one of those like just one more episode kind of anime. Like you'll be watching it like 2 a.m. and you'll be like, nah, I'm done. But there's just that part of your brain that wants that extra little bit of serotonin, and it's going to tell you like, nah, one more episode.
And we'll be talking about the entirety of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood on next week. We'll also find out how much hours of sleep a man can have to stay sane next week.
Zaid's keeping you up, is that what you're saying?
Honestly, dude, he's been doing great these last 2 days. He just gets a little fuzzy. He doesn't cry. He doesn't like, you know? He gets a little fuzzy when he's hungry. He needs a diaper change. So we sleep through the night. At first, I don't know. I mean, parents know about the SUDS, but SUDS, it's an acronym for like sudden baby asphyxiation syndrome, that they just die at night.
What?
Yeah. So you have to make sure they're swaddled, which is like a burrito form. They have to be sleeping with their face up.
Bro, that's the scariest shit I've ever heard. I've never heard that in my life.
Exactly. So as a new parent, every little noise that he makes, you're like, he's good. Is he good? And then you close your eyes and you want to trick yourself that you don't care, but you have to get up and check on him.
That's scary as fuck.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
It is scary as fuck. So the first 3 months is just making sure this guy doesn't die in his sleep. Which brings me to the next point. He's been really easy, and I feel like we're lucky because Saeed is a very calm little kid, and I feel like he's...
That might change, though.
That might change, yeah. I mean, who knows? I don't know. I'm a new parent. But so far, it looks like he's adjusting well out of the wound. So, you know?
Yeah, I'm happy for you. Don't get me wrong. It's just, I wouldn't get too comfortable with shit being easy right now because, like...
Oh, it's never gonna be easy.
Yeah, it's never gonna be easy.
But you know me.
That you don't take anything seriously enough.
Not that.
Oh, I didn't say that.
Is that... I mean, you're right, but like... But that... I don't know. I think you would know me as somebody that...
You take everything in strides. You're the Kamina of, like... what... You're Kamina in the sense that, like, nothing's too big for you to handle. Because, like, if you just take care of your shit and, like, you accomplish the things you know need to be done, then everything's going to be all right.
Will prosper. Yeah. So, it's... Even
But I'm a worrier, so I'm like the opposite. Like I can feel like I'm doing everything I need to do, and it's still not going to be enough.
Dude, I still have anxiety. I still have those worries. But being a new parent with Saeed, it's almost effortless because I don't know, dude. It's just. I mean, I've heard it so many times with young parents throughout high school. You know, stoners or whatever, and they're like, dude, there's no better high than seeing your baby born. No, that's bullshit, bro. You know what I'm saying? You love the kid, but it's like, shut up. Yeah, that's not true. Yeah, but like when you have your babies, it's so like, like you and Karen's relationship is awesome. It's great, you know, and it amplifies it. Like me and Vinay's relationship is so good, and us being so good at communicating and stuff like that. I know we know it's hard to be sleepy and shit, but it also rejuvenizes you.
It cements you guys around a common cause. It's like, like you're both here for a reason right now. It's like, we're gonna raise this child together.
And we love it. And it's great. But thank you all the nerds that have been listening. And, you know, that's just gonna be cool once he grows up.
Yeah, just keep him away from the Between Nerds podcast. He can never listen to anything.
I mean, he watched Gurren Lagann with me.
Yeah, he did, and that's what I think is so funny. That's so cool. Like, you finally have, like although Vianney watches a lot of this stuff with you, you have like a permanent anime partner right now.
I can download shit into.
Yeah, it's just you and Zaid just watching a bunch of anime, and he gets to be
he can watch anime for me, and he could tell me what the anime is.
He gets to grow up to be the coolest anime prude, and he gets to be like, you know what? I was watching Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood with my dad when I was 2 weeks old. Do you know what NG is?
Yeah, that was in the late 1900s, bro.
That was made 25 years before I was born. Like, I know what NGE is. Like, that's crazy. That's wild.
But he's been doing great, dude. And
me
are about to get a promotion, but there's some fucking rocky shit. I don't know if you want to talk about that.
I don't know what to talk about. I've been real big sad all day. Well, all week, to be honest, because on Monday I got a call from the El Paso Water Department's HR department, and I got offered this job, but they're completely lowballing me on the pay.
But you're fighting it. You're not accepting.
I'm fighting it, and like HR, like she's not super nice, but she's nice enough. She's professional, and like I told her, I was like, how are you going to offer me the bare minimum on a job that requires only a bachelor's when I have a master's in this hyper specific field that you guys want to hire for? And she was just like, oh, well, it wasn't listed on the application description, this is and that. I'm just like, no one else is going to know what they're doing. No one else is going to have the experience or the education, and you're completely lying if anybody in El Paso thinks they have this.
When you showed me that email and the wording they use, I'm like, yeah, duh, it wasn't hard for the drafting.
It's not.
Because you already had the guy.
Yeah.
You had him in fucking retainer. And you didn't even pay him for retainer. You know what I'm saying?
I get big sad just thinking about how, like, because now the argument's like, oh, just take the shitty job because then you'll have an extra year of experience to put on your resume. Like, at what point is my experience and my education actually worth me being paid, like, an actual income? Because everything else right now is just like, well, that's more than somebody without a master's makes, so good enough? No, that's not good enough. Why would that be good enough? Like,
no. And even and the fact that we're so close to getting a $15 minimum wage, which is shit still.
Yeah.
They still want to lowball you like that. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, I told them to take it back to the city, and that was the thing. I told her I wasn't happy with the pay, and she was like, oh, but then I have to do more paperwork, and it's going to take more time to hire you. I don't give a shit.
Go ahead and do it.
Because then I have to talk to the city, and then we got to argue with the city about your base rate of pay, and I was like, that's fine. That's fine. Like, I'll be down to do what I'm doing right now and be a temp, not making any money, but at least I can leave whenever I want. How are you going to be like, you're on contract for a year, and you're not going to make anything? You are crazy. You have lost your mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, I'm sorry I made you talk about this, but I mean, it is real fucking life. Yeah. And I'm going through real fucking life too. So, you know?
I've just been sad about it. It's just like, I just want somebody to be on my side once. I want, like, one time, one of these jobs, one of these employers.
I'm on your side.
No, not you.
I'm on your
side. Somebody it's like, paying me week to week. I want somebody to be like, yo,
I write you a check for $0 every day.
Every day?
Every day.
I just want one time, one of these jobs to be like, you know what? You are really worth something that's more than the bare minimum. Like, how is this? Because originally when HR called me, she's like, yo, we're offering you this sum. That's the bare minimum. Well, she didn't say that, but I knew what the bare minimum hiring rate for this job was. And she told that to me, and I was like, oh, okay. All right. I guess I'm okay with that. And that was because in the back of my head, I was like, okay, I'll just leave when I get a better job. And then it wasn't until like 10 minutes into the conversation that she's like, oh, it's going to be under contract and you can't leave for a year. I was like, you've lost your fucking mind. And I told her I had to take her documentation and paperwork later in the day. I was just like, no, you've lost your shit. Like, go argue that shit with the city or make it non-contract, because like you can pay me nothing, but
at least I can leave.
Yeah.
And not,
It's completely that shit.
You're gonna find something, and whether it's gonna be here or Austin or Dallas or Texas or Nevada or Mexico or Guatemala, you're gonna find fucking something, bro.
Guatemala.
So, yeah, dude. Thank you, fucking nerds, for listening to the episode 37 of Between Nerds.
Hold on. So next episode, we are talking about Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. We talked about that. The week after that, which should be the last weekend of April, we will be watching both Nisa Monogatari and Neko Monogatari, which are the two sequels to Bakemonogatari, which we watched for episode 1 of Between Nerds podcast with Lloyd, with everybody. And Nisa Monogatari is just like Nisan, which means sibling. So it's about the sisters of the main dude from Bakemonogatari. And Neko means cat, which is about the cat from Neko Monogatari. It's Nisa Monogatari's 11 episodes, Neko Monogatari's 4 episodes. So that's going to be a breeze to watch after we finish this 60-something episode Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
And don't forget to send us your suggestions.
Yeah, we want to do another poll because we started April late. Now we need to start planning May. So I'm gonna put up more polls, and we're just gonna plan the whole month of May around these polls. And
we still have some in there. So yeah, give us your suggestions, and thank you for listening. Anything else?
No, that's it. This has been Between Nerds.